In the last episode of the Surfer's Roadmap, we covered transitioning from a beginner surfer to an intermediate surfer. Essentially, we talked about those super important steps to take from catching whitewater to green waves and then trimming across and building speed. So in today's video, I'm going to show you how to get from that intermediate stage all the way up to advanced. Now, quick warning, it's not going to be super easy and it might even take a couple of months, a few months even. But I think with the correct transition exercises and helpful tools and tricks to apply in the water and out of the water, we are going to get there. Hey, if you're new here, make sure you subscribe to the channel and join me on Instagram at Kale's Broccoli. Let's get you shredding in the water. Yo! We're going to define an advanced surfer as someone who can cut across the face of a wave and perform nice, stylish, flowing turns. Flow is going to be a key element of distinction between intermediate and advanced surfers. We finished off the last video with speed generation technique, and now it's time to expand our range of directional change with some turns, some maneuvers. Now, big problem here. A lot of people think that they lose all their speed whenever they go up to do a turn, and that's because they lack something called flow in their surfing. Flow is essentially the ability to generate and manage speed effectively, almost like driving a car, putting your foot on the pedal, on the gas when you need to, and putting your foot on the brake when you need to. Let's go into it a little bit deeper. I've spoken about speed points before, the idea that any given wave has a certain amount of speed points to offer, and as surfers, we harness these points and spend them whilst on the wave. Some surfers can harness more points than others and thus can spend more on their turns. Imagine this wave here has 7 speed points to offer at the start. I take off and perform a turn which spends about 4 points. In order to perform anything significant afterward, I need to build my speed point balance back up again with some speed generation technique. Now I have 6 speed points again to finish with a nice turn. The concept here is that we need to manage our speed effectively. And if we want to look cool whilst doing it, which we do, then we need to be subtle with our movements. Surfers who we consider as the best in the world have one thing in common. They have a high degree of flow on a wave. They seem to move almost effortlessly across the water and never seem to slow down in between turns. It's a little bit difficult to achieve, but in order to achieve it, it requires this: compression and extension.
It's all about compression extension, you know? So our bodies, if we can imagine our body being like a spring, so we want to, the more we can coil up, the more we can express and expand. From the bottom of the wave, where we're coiling up, we're using the momentum and the energy of the ocean as we go high, and we're also extending our body to be the lightest when it's at the top of the wave. With all of that compression, the energy has to go somewhere. So if you're going to then change directions really fast, which is any kind of turn, you're building up and compounding all this kinetic potential. And then where it's going to go, if you work efficiently with your lower body, upper body integration, as well as your eyes and your shoulders opening, it's just going to be a ton of power and energy to express that you're going to have banked up.
Compressing your body at exactly the right time is crucial to achieving effortless speed generation. We know at this point that speed generation is mostly a compression at the bottom of the wave and an extension at the top. But what if we add a turn into the mix? Compression and extension are still going to be essential. As we pinpoint our turning section and move toward it, the body extends in readiness for the turn. This extension transfers power into the board, which displaces the water underneath, allowing us to change direction. The most important thing to notice here is this: the compression after the turn. This immediate compression allows me to hold onto the speed that I have and use it to continue down the wave. I call this lowered position the coiled spring because it enables us to hold a lot of kinetic potential in our core, legs, and back. We can use this pent-up energy to explode into the lip for our turns. Finishing off turns by getting back into the coiled spring position allows us to flow between maneuvers without having to recuperate more speed in between. Wave pending, of course. For a transition exercise to help you remember to compress out of your turns, you can work on these exercises in the gym on a Bosu ball. Shoulder press a light to medium weighted kettle or dumbbell before moving into a squat and then repeating. You can also practice on your favourite surf trainer skateboard. Use a line in the concrete as a guide and do a turn just above it, being sure to compress as you cross back over it again. You can do this on both your forehand and your backhand, and just watch out for cars if you're doing it on the road. Okay, so you've got flow down pat, or at least you're working on it. Now let's go into some real fine detail with getting you pumping out some epic turns. Where you look is where you go. The ultimate rule in surfing applies very much to performing maneuvers. I see too many surfers who want to start doing turns, yet do not look up to the section that they want to hit, but rather spend most of their waves looking in toward the beach. A good indicator to know that you're doing this well is, during your bottom turn, we should actually see the back of your head if we look at you from the beach. Notice also how the leading hand is involved as well. In my case, it is my left hand, which also kind of points to the section that I want to hit, and then acts as a guide for the turn that I want to perform. On my forehand, that left arm almost acts like an anchor, a marked point in the wave for me to arc my turnaround. On my backhand, it's my right arm, my trailing arm, that acts as the anchor. Remember the compression rule: coiled spring at the bottom to harness your kinetic energy and then an extension at the top. This extension occurs about halfway up the face depending on the turn. The energy potential flows through into the feet and then into the board as we cross its center point and encourage the directional change.
It's a more economical way to move your body. So you're going to exert more power with less effort by opening your body. And again, you're experiencing that connectivity from the feet and the surfboard all the way through your system. This energy does transfer from low to high. So if we're moving, rotating without opening the chest or the arms, we're kind of putting a kink in the hose, so to speak. So to really allow energy to express out the whole body, it makes it much more efficient. You're allowing that extra extension. It's the exclamation mark, and it generally feels a whole lot better. If it feels better, it's going to generally look better.
There's a lot going on there, I know. So what we're going to do is break down a turn in slow-mo with some text so you can soak it up visually. The general rule when it comes to selecting appropriate turns for different sections is this: steeper sections allow for and almost always require more radical and vertical turns because the lip is more poignant and thus more likely to rebound us all the way back into the pocket or the curl of the wave once more. Fatter sections where the lip is not so present require a more drawn out and less vertical approach. Nice top turns or roundhouse cutbacks work great for these types of sections. Besides spending lots of time in the water, you can practice your turns on your surf trainer skateboard. Remember to be really cognizant of using your eyes intelligently and opening up the shoulders as well to fully encourage the turn. In the gym, you can work on rotational exercises to improve connective strength between the upper and lower body. Strong hips and a strong upper torso will work wonders for your surfing. I did a poll on Instagram and asked people what their frequently asked questions would be regarding turning in surfing. Now, here are the answers in this sort of fast, quirky little edit that I didn't think would work, but kind of does. Okay, question number 1. What is the weight distribution like during turns? Well, I think the weight distribution is surprisingly pretty evenly spread across both feet. I would say about 60-40 in favor of the back foot, but also depending on the turn and at what stage you are in the turn. Does that make sense? For sharper turns, the back foot obviously needs to be a little bit more dominant because you're changing direction. You're going through that range in a faster amount of time. For slower turns, I think we really need to even up the weight distribution and definitely use the shoulders and upper body a lot more. The emphasis should be up there. And as far as heels or toes go, it depends which side you're turning. Next question, how do you turn without catching rail? Well, if you're catching rail all the time, it generally means that you're either moving too slow through the water or you're trying to force the turn with excessive use of the feet as opposed to the upper body. It generally means you're not driving through a turn. So you really want to have the mindset of driving through it, not slicing through the turn. Also, getting lower can help in this regard. Next question. I'm turning my shoulders and head, but nothing else happens. Well, you need to practice linking your lower body and integrating probably through the inner unit all the way down through to the hips and the lower abdominals. And using all that within the turn. I think a really good way to do that is through practicing on the surf trainer skateboards. That really helps and develops that minor shift that'll really connect everything together. You're probably not extending at the top and through the turn and are actually remaining too compressed. And as a result, you're not actually driving through the turn. You're kind of just going like that and toppling and bogging rail. Just within turns, there is such a huge opportunity to explore and innovate continually. Even after 18 years of surfing, for me, I'm still working on performing on-face maneuvers to the level that I want to be at. If you need some more help with this, or you're wondering about things such as airs and rotational moves, make sure you stick around, subscribe to the channel, and also join me on Instagram at Kale's Broccoli, because I'm going to be announcing a bunch of surf retreats as they come up this year. We've already sold out the first one. We've got the next one, perhaps somewhere tropical and incredible. So that's coming up and you won't want to miss it. If you do want to support the channel in any way, what I've done is actually put some links to my books and films down below. I've had so many kind messages recently saying, hey, how can I support you? You've helped me surf, which is so amazing. It still blows my mind. So I've put some links to check out my books down below. Please do so. Thanks so much for tuning in. I look forward to spending the rest of this year with you. I'll catch you soon. You. Okay, so you've got flow down pat. So let's break down